Okay. Hi, we're live now, and we're a little bit late. I'm sorry. I got to chatting with Jeffrey about things so that we could be better prepared to talk with you. And I don't see anybody in the chat yet, but my folks are pretty
Hi,
loyal,
hi.
so they'll show up. Anyway, so Jeffrey, how did you end up being a reader of anything?
Um, that's a good question. I'm not really sure. The truth is, I'm not really sure. It just sort of, it's something I've always been fascinated with.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm an empath, so I was always
Mm-hmm.
picking up other people's feelings, even as a small child, and I always was this background observer of the world, of society, of the way things
Mm-hmm.
interacted, and I always I always knew to like kind of check in on
Yeah.
the inside. And and I was always really fascinated with reading or things like that because to me it seemed very I don't know, magical,
Mm-hmm.
I guess. And but I always thought of it as something kind of outside of me. I never really like owned it or took it in. It was always like, oh, well, that's that over there.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. Eventually, I just started reading cards, but I don't even know how long ago, like well over 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And just like we were saying in the pre-show, in the green room,
In the green room, we were discussing some things so we could put a better show for y'all.
um, you learn by doing. So it seems to me like, well, if you're really fascinated with music, and it's like, well, I can't really play music, da, da, da. It's like, well, pick up the instrument
And
and
play it.
and blow into it and press the button, or and then it'll tell you. It's like, no, when you do it on this end of the drum makes this sound, and when you do it on that end, the drum makes that sound.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it just sort of happens. I think I've never talked to somebody who and I've watched for. We've got people following us now. We got 10 folks here. Um, I was telling Jeffrey, kind of the reason I'm doing this divination series is I want people who work with information that's around us on all different levels. Now he's wearing the Seed of Life shirt, which is his own creation. He made that today. Yay! We're going to talk about sacred geometry. I'm going to let more people get in because we had quite a few questions about it. But I know that most of the readers I talked to, they always kind of knew that they were doing something else. I mean, other than just walking down the street and living where they lived. They always knew there was some other power around them. It's very rare for someone to not feel that way.
Yeah,
And I've
that's
been
true.
reading cards since I was 12.
Yeah,
But every day I pick the cards up, and every time I watch someone read, I learn a new way
right.
of working and reading and seeing. Because it was in 2018 when I got introduced to sacred geometry and building grids. And from that moment on, everything just changed. The whole emphasis of what I worked with and how I look at things changed.
And one
You,
thing leads to another, doesn't it? It's
it
so interesting,
always, it
right? That's
always. And then
exactly how
one
my whole
day,
life has worked. My whole
one,
life has worked like that.
and
Yeah.
how did you end up on YouTube?
How did I end up on YouTube? Well, okay, my teddy bear told me to be on YouTube.
Okay. That's okay. My angels told me to do it.
Oh, no.
They said
Now
not.
he wants extra chocolate. He
Okay,
likes
well,
eating chocolate all day.
and you don't sound like you're from the South.
I am not from the South. I was born 2 blocks from where I live. I was
Oh,
born in
cool.
Manhattan and I grew up in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. So did you survive the storm? Okay, I know it was Queens that got really hit.
Yeah, well, we had a lot of warning about it, and I was feeling it already.
Mm.
So, and the weird thing is, a couple of weeks ago, I went out to Queens I go out there to get my hair cut. Actually, the neighborhood that really got hit, I go out there to get my hair cut
Oh dear.
because it's a lot cheaper and they do like this mega job. He does every
Mm-hmm.
hair almost,
Mm-hmm.
So he couldn't take me. He wasn't there. And I said, well, I'm here for a reason. And then I went to some store and this store and that store, and there was like nothing. I was like, oh, and then I see this This is like 2 or 3 weeks ago, before
Mm-hmm.
the storm, before this storm, there was
Mm-hmm.
Henri.
Mm-hmm.
Before that one, a couple of days before that one, and you could see Manhattan really well. And it's different to be in Manhattan than to look at it from afar.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing it from afar, and I see this black cloud, I mean black, over Manhattan, and I'm like, that's interesting. And it was moving really quickly, and it was almost like this. It was like
Yeah.
this shape, you know?
Ugh.
And it was like moving, and then it's kind of like moving over me, and I got this feeling. I got this really, and in fact, I talked about it in one of my videos. Um, and I was like, you have to be prepared, you have to be in your body, you have to like, I said it especially, it was almost like a warning video, and it was I did it especially for the water signs,
Mm-hmm.
because I felt like they were going to feel it more.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had a whole thing, and like now I'm realizing that's what it was. Because I had this feeling of a cloud just sitting and dumping and dumping and dumping, which is what the weather has been turning into all over the place lately.
It's true. Okay, as everybody knows, we got enough folks in here now, and Sharon's here being our troll slayer, and
Hi,
Vivian and
Sharon.
Andrea and Jolynn and Melinda. A lot of my regulars are here. Faye.
Mhm.
I always have a stone of the day, and you have an interesting story about the author of this book. But today our stone is fluorite, and fluorite means learning, and we are in a powerful time of learning. We learn and teach things through our own life experience. And if you've watched my channel very long, you know fluorite's my favorite crystal because it goes from dark, dark purple to crystal clear, almost white, and
Wow.
it forms natural octahedrons. That's its natural form, and you can get them, and they're absolutely gorgeous. And I was so excited because I thought that's perfect because there's so much stuff we're going to learn from Jeffrey today. Yay! Uh, One of the things that we got a question about was integrative healing. And if you've watched Jeffrey's shows, his readings are really good. They're really quick. You're not going to spend your life there waiting, and you're, thank God. I
I'm gonna
love
do
card
it.
readers,
I'm like, let's get to it, you know?
astrologers make me nuts. They go on forever. But
Let's get to
it's
it.
just, what the hell's going to happen?
I got
Just,
things to do.
yeah. And I want to not die in front of my screen and then miss the point where you say, you have death on your cards. But he does really good, quick, incisive readings. I mean, your subjects are carefully chosen, but one of the things you talk about at the end of your readings is you do private readings, which would be much more
Mhm.
extensive, like when I do them. But you do integrative healing. What is integrative healing?
I do. So I administer this.
Okay.
It's called integrated energy therapy, IET.
Okay.
Integrative
Okay.
energy therapy. So what it is basically uh, it releases the issues in your tissues.
Oh, great. No, I love it.
I don't know how else to say it. So sometimes, okay. So I'm 57. I've been around the block. I've been in therapy for 30 years. Blah blah blah. I've done a lot of spiritual work for a long, long time, on a lot
Mm-hmm.
of different levels. And sometimes it's like, well, I keep on, keep on, keep on, keep on, and it's like, I've done all the work. How come this is still stuck?
Mm-hmm.
So what this does is basically, you give it to the angel. It's like you call in a professional instead of trying to fix the plumbing yourself. You call in a professional. It's like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't really know how the plumbing works. Excuse me, Mr. Plumber, can you come
Mm-hmm.
over to my house because I have a leak or I
Mm-hmm.
have a whatever it is. And so you're calling in the angels and you ask for what you would like to receive.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to receive abundance. I would like to receive love. I would like to receive whatever. It's important that you ask for what you want to receive first. That's really important.
Mm-hmm.
Because so many people are so focused on, and I'm not judging because we're all like, oh well, I have to let go of this relationship. I have to let go of this resentment. I have to let go of this guilt. I have to let go of this shame. Blah 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 blah. Blah. And it's like first it comes from a different angle. It's like, what would you like to have?
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like you're living in a little house, like a little shack, and you're so busy thinking about the messed up roof and how the garden is
Right.
overgrown or straight, instead of are, saying, I have the most beautiful china. I
Mm-hmm.
love my china. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? So first of all, it comes at it from that
Right.
place. Look at this beautiful piece of china I have. Now,
Mm-hmm.
what can I put on it to serve to myself and
Mm-hmm.
to others? So you call on the angels, you ask what you want, you say what you'd like to release, and then I basically am getting in touch with your soul. I pull it down. I
Mm-hmm.
do a little sacred geometry on it actually, and then this is Teddy. Teddy sits in for you because I can't usually see you in person,
Mm-hmm.
and I go through points in the body where I integrate new energy from the angels
Mm-hmm.
and release. So, like for instance, when there's one where I do sort of on your love handles,
Mm-hmm.
that imprints ease and it takes out stress.
Oh, cool.
Right? I do one on the back over here, and it releases resentment and imprints forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I
Cool.
do it remotely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've done it, all over the world.
Yeah. I work with two remote healers. One works with me every day, but and another one works with me once a week, and they got my oxygen sats from being in the upper 80s at night now they're in the mid to upper 90s all the time
Mm.
because I had some real breathing issues. And so when people say, "Oh, does that really work?" Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah, it really,
Well,
a
not only
lot better
that,
than
it's
the.
like it's not like, oh, I'm the guru and it's like, no, you and your angels are doing the work. I'm like the receptionist. You
Mm-hmm.
come in to the doctor's office and you say, oh, you come to the reception. I have a problem with my arm, so then I know which doctor to send you to. Because it's
Mm-hmm.
like there's a whole bunch of them, and I'm like, and then you come out, and I'm like, okay, I'm the receptionist, so then I give you a little piece of paper. It's like, well, don't eat this, eat that,
Mm-hmm.
sleep like this, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Right?
There's.
But I also get the energy. So if you're asking for more bountiful love, it's so enormous. Like when I'm doing it, it's like I'm like,
Yeah.
oh wow. Or you're leasing whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, like I'm releasing it too. It's like, whoa, and it's very loving.
Well, someone just commented she already looked it up, and you're very reasonably priced.
Very.
So
Well, you know what? Like I want to.
I want to do it. I don't want to price it where
Well,
people can't.
also this might sound. I want to heal the world. We're all
Right.
here to heal the world. This is why this community happened.
Right.
We're all here to like share what we have. Yes, I have to pay my bills and all that, but
Mm-hmm.
I do that. I do the tarot. I have my textile business.
Mm-hmm.
I got a lot going on.
Yeah. He's a
I get bored
busy,
too.
busy man. So that handles. So if you can
Thank you
contact
for
him,
asking.
huh? Yeah, and
Thank you for asking.
I put in my description the email and how to get a hold of him if you need to get more information to learn how to do that. Now we
Thank
get
you.
to the really simple topic of what is sacred geometry.
Hmm. I know I should have a little script. Um, I don't even know where to begin. So sacred geometry is pretty much it's alive and well in almost every culture in the world. The Chinese, the Indians, the ancient Egyptians, the Maya, the Greeks, blah 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 blah. It's
It's so
well, it's
all
first of all,
around.
it's our relationship to the planet, our
Right.
relationship to the world, our relationship to things that are living, our relationship to the sun, to the earth, to the
Mm-hmm.
mountains, and well, I'm an artist, so basically, humans, we see color, we
Mm-hmm.
see shape, and we
Mm-hmm.
see texture.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you understand those things, you know how to manipulate and play with those things and make them get along or fight,
Mm-hmm.
then you're basically involved in some sort of sacred geometry.
Right. To
Does
be
that does that help?
that helps a little bit. To be really pedantic, okay?
Okay.
Okay. This book right here, this sheet, Those are the basic sacred geometry shapes, which you all learned in school. The triangle, the square, the pentagon, the octagon, the heptagon, the nonagon, and the decagon, which is the 10. But what happens in sacred geometry is they get pulled into solid form. So your triangle becomes a pyramid. And it becomes an octahedron. And this is the shape that all fluorite crystals are at their very most basic. And that's one of my favorite shapes. It's six-sided. And I have, you can get these sets of sacred geometry forms. These are called the Platonic solids. And Platonic, as you know, means not Pluto, it means Plato. Yes. He's got a better illustration of it. And they got the cube. I mean, some we know and some we don't. But actually, at the end of the day, everything, crystals in the ground, crystals that are crystals, that's the difference between being a crystal and a stone. A crystal has a carefully organized molecular shape. A stone is just minerals clumped together. Okay? So this is sort of the one everybody talks about, Metatron's cube. And that's sort of the pinnacle in sacred geometry. And they all mean different things. And the way I got to learn about sacred geometry was when I started working with crystals and started building crystal grids. There are shapes. Triangles move energy easily. The squares mean the energy is forming a base. The pentagon means the energy is creating change. It's like the number 5 in the tarot. They follow the same numbers in the tarot until you get up to the 9, and the 9 is, we're kind of at the end of this game.
Right.
You know, we're doing. So, I'm sorry, my voice has decided to go south. And I can't get much further south, it'll be in Mexico. From where I am, and I know. I have a little cup over here. Anyway, I saw Jeffrey refer to sacred geometry. It's one reason why I want to talk to him. He's designed pieces with sacred geometry on it. And whenever you kind of touch that, you start to begin to understand parts about the divine.
Yes, absolutely.
Like every basic shape you can make is on your t-shirt. It's in there.
Right. I mean, this is called the flower of life. And this is like, to me, it's my favorite one.
Mm-hmm.
So what the flower of life is really about, okay. So look, this is a circle.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is what they call the Vesica Pisces. So these are two circles, equal circles coming together. So to me, this is the most fascinating thing about it. So the question is, are these two circles coming together, or is this giving birth to the two circles?
Mm-hmm.
That's the question. And I think the answer is yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's what it's about. You know, that's like the real magic of the sacred geometry. It's like, so this is basically the womb,
Mm-hmm.
right? Giving birth to the duality, which we deal with every day,
Mm-hmm.
right? The day and the night, the male and female, blah, 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 blah. And we encompass both and we create both. We are both and we're influenced by both. And it's our understanding as a singular being, in a way, to give birth to all that.
And it just keeps.
It's very trippy stuff. It's really trippy
I have a graphic, and it's like sacred geometry where things split and grow. Then there's cell division, real, true, from the test tube kind of cell division, and it builds the same shape. Then it shows planetary clouds coming together, and they go through the same thing. I mean, it's whether it starts with a little bitty cell or it goes all the way up to the other thing. It's all around us, and that's why sometimes I think we don't recognize it, because it is all around us. But by tapping into the power of what surrounds you, you can grow. And in case you guys didn't miss it, the middle of my garden is Vesica Pisces. That's what, when we came up with how to create the garden so visually it drew you in, and it carried the power it needed to have it be read. She she and I came up with that as the place to start with.
Mm-hmm.
And then the colors are fluorite. The tones that are on it are all fluorite colors. So
Yeah, it's also, it's kind of like, it's even when you're combining colors.
mm-hmm.
So when you're combining color, like when you get to the secondary colors, so the primary colors are red, yellow, blue. And then when you get to the secondary, which is green, orange, purple, you're combining the energy of the yellow and the red. You're
Mm-hmm.
combining that energy.
Mm-hmm.
So of passion and clarity, of enthusiasm and vigor.
Mm-hmm.
You're combining that, and then so
So you've got
it
on your
works on so many levels.
sacral chakra color.
Yeah,
Orange.
I wear a lot of
Peach, pink, orange.
I wear pink and peach a lot. Yeah, I wear every color, to tell you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
This was just, you know what it was? Because I made it today. So I was going through my shirts. I said, "You have a lot of this color, so you could actually
You could lose one in it if it
wear."
doesn't
Yeah,
work out all
yeah.
that well. Yeah.
That's what it really was. And it
Okay.
was the least wrinkles.
Yeah. Well, that's also, trust me, I don't even worry about wrinkles. You only see this much of me, and my body shape unwrinkles everything.
I honor.
Um. Okay. The other. Oh, I was going to show this book for people who are book people. This is available through Amazon or other bookstores. It's called Sacred Geometry, the A to Z reference. And when he talks about all the cultures it goes through, the infinity symbol is part of the sacred geometry. It explains how all of these things, Hinduism, the hexagram, that's like Metatron's cube on a flat form. Anyway, you can. Oh, and this is my favorite thing. And I lived forever before I knew about the golden mean.
Mm.
And it talks about how all of these things integrate. And when you start to think in those terms, then you can see how all the energy around us is integrating itself together.
Yeah, and we spoke about before pre-show. We
Mm-hmm.
talked about, and this book, I have like a little primer book, but it's quite good. It talks about um, actually physically drawing them
Mm-hmm.
and like with intent.
Mm-hmm.
See, like I mostly do abstract, right? I
Right.
mostly paint abstractly. But when you draw with intent, it's like I'm going from this place to that place, and then I'm combining it. When you sit down and physically draw, like with a compass and other things,
Right.
th- there's a real meditative quality to it. There's a
Mm-hmm.
tremendously meditative quality to it. So, it's like this kind of spiritual way to doodle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating subject, and once you start to see it, you'll see it everywhere. And let's see.
It's a way of making numbers sacred.
Yes.
And all the ancient civilizations had specific um, understandings of numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a reason that 40 keeps on showing up in the Bible. There's a reason we have 7 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
There's a three shows up over and over again. Four shows up over and over again in
Mm-hmm.
all cultures.
Yes.
So it's not, they didn't just pick numbers randomly. They didn't, it's like, oh, well, I think we'll make it a 2. And someone else says, oh, no, let's make it a 5. It's like, no, it's not
No,
like that.
that's not how it works.
Yeah. It was a really profound, well thought out, centuries long information
Mm-hmm.
that they bring us really from then to now.
Right. Right. And if you haven't, I haven't had a numerologist yet among my divination people. They're a little hard to pin down. I guess the
Really?
numbers are just not working out right. When I used to teach tarot, the first lesson they had was numerology, and they learned how to do their life path number and their name.
Mhm.
because by the end of that exercise, they knew 1 through 9,
Right.
which if you look at this deck, the vast majority of those cards are 1 through 9. And then you just put the symbol with it. Is it a cup? 1 is love. 2, and how all those things relate.
Right.
And of course, the other thing that would happen is they'd go away, and on the days before the next class, they'd be doing all their friends and their family.
Well,
And
that's good because that way you get to practice. Because
They
we
they
were talking about earlier, like the more you do something, the more you
That's
practice
right.
it, the better you're going to get at it. The better you're going to get at it.
And the more you understand and integrate that all these things are really the same. I mean, they all
Right.
go back to the same source
Right.
that we talk about a lot. And
Right.
source is really important.
Right. Well, that's what I mean. At the end of the day, this really is all about the one.
Mm-hmm.
This is really about the one giving birth to the 2, which equals the 3, which equals.
Then it keeps. Yeah.
Yeah.
If they go to that YouTube program I had, that's what the guy starts with. He starts with the dot, then he draws a line, then he draws the circle, and then he starts spreading the circles out. Then he starts finding all the shapes in the circle, and it really, it made it really clear to me, because I'm not I'm not an artist. I'm not that kind of visual person that way. But okay, now I don't mean to spring this on you, Jeffrey, but did you want to lay some cards? You can lay. We
Oh,
can
sure.
take a
Okay.
a
They're always on
question.
the table.
I know.
They're
We can
always
ask.
on the
You can
table.
ask a question with your cards, and I'll look at it in the garden, and we'll see what we get.
Oh, okay. So what
Okay.
should we ask?
Okay. Who wants to ask a question? Anybody out there? It takes them a little bit to type.
I never see the chat whenever I'm on someone
Mm-hmm.
else's thing because it gets too confusing. So whoever's there, hello, blessings.
Oh
to you.
yeah, there's Mary, Andrea. Andrea comes here all the time. Lynn, Anna, Lana Banana. I think I've seen your name before. Sharon Sipes here.
Hi, Sharon. So that name I know.
Someone's saying Melinda said she'd read something where vibrations of sound is how the letters came about,
Yes.
and of course, the sound of our own voice is also a very sacred thing. I'm looking up to see if anybody had. Somebody's really happy that a Wi-Fi is cooperating today. I don't know.
Aren't we all?
Are we all are? Okay. How much time do you do on things? Because I can do time. I can read time on the garden. There's a part that means summer, spring, winter, fall, and then
really?
a part.
I find time very difficult.
See, time's ridiculous for tarot readers. So, do you want to do something about? I'm trying to think of a positive question. And don't put a political question because you know how that gets with me. Okay. Getting centered. Okay, when is there going to be a break in the illness? And I mean COVID by that. I mean, I think there's another illness that's running around this country, but that's a whole nother thing.
mental illness. I don't know if there's ever going to be.
I don't think they'll ever get rid of mental illness. I think sometimes it's what motivates us. Okay, we're going to go. I'm going to go in the garden. He's going to throw on his cards. So, see a pattern for the beginning of the relief from COVID. The most positive, the body I get coming grounding and really human bodies feeling it. I see it's late in the fall. And there's going to be some false starts and stops to it. Right now, the clarification is standing. It depends on how well people integrate and clarify what's really needed for us. Our spirits are beginning to move. Our spirits are beginning to move in the right direction, but on the outer circle, our minds, it's going to be almost revelatory because it's sitting between the crown of enlightenment and the tree of life. So when our minds finally accept what it needs to know, and I'm talking about the universal mind, things will just begin to move forward and roll forward and be okay. What did you get? So I'm getting late fall.
Well, I mean, I'm really, I got 3 months. I heard 3 months.
Okay.
That's what I heard. But you know, with what you're saying, it's like that makes perfect sense because this, you know, this card is really about. See, to me, this is all about involving spirit.
Right.
You know, it's so this. I mean, this card. You know, sometimes it could be sickness, but it's also it's about meditation, pause, contemplation, right? So he's got the four, which is also stability, but also when you're bringing in, see, in this card, whenever you have like this, whenever you have like the stained glass of the church
Right.
there,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, well, there's a little spiritual element to this too. And
Right.
people, you know, like it's right there. You don't see it's like say geometry. It's right there, and people are like, oh no, all I see is this guy laying on the thing. It's like, well, look at the whole card.
Mm-hmm.
So I always feel like as he sits and contemplates, he's bringing spirit in. So maybe we've been working,
Mm-hmm.
and we haven't had a chance or time or the inclination to sit
Mm-hmm.
and say, what what's your will?
Mm-hmm.
You know, how is this supposed to how are we supposed to move forward? Right. And then that's where I got the 3 months, which is this is all about moving forward. And it's also this is the international card, which is
Mm-hmm.
great.
We
Right. So
need
this
to.
is
If we stopped at cold here, 3 days later it'd flying in an airplane.
yeah.
I mean,
Well, that's, I mean, this comes back to really the conversation, I think, underneath everything we've been having, which is the one is all. You know, on, so I think this is my interpretation of like the world we live in. The
mm-hmm.
big lie is that I'm separate from you. I'm separate from um, Mexico.
Right.
I'm separate from God. I'm separate from the earth.
Mm-hmm.
No, I am one with the earth is one with
Mm-hmm.
me. I am one with Mexico, Mexico is one with me. I am one with the United States is one with me. I am one with my fellows are one with me. And
That's.
when I create out of that space, so that's my basic meditation is when I sit every day, I become this sphere of
Mm-hmm.
light and I radiate joy.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm feeling it, but I'm sending it. And so then what happens is it does uh, vibrate back to me.
Mm-hmm.
Look, not every day, you know, yes, I'm going to have problems. It's not like, oh, I just live my life in joy. You know,
Well, you wouldn't know you were in joy when you really reached it if you didn't have some days that were crappy.
right. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, you don't appreciate your shoelace until it's untied.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of untied shoelaces, we've got two questions. One is weather on the West Coast, and one is weather on the East Coast. Which one you want to take first?
What? A weather.
Weather.
It's like whether I was like whether or not what.
Whether or not, no, come to Texas. We're halfway in between, and you can just broil and get rained on and everything all at once.
Let's do West Coast first.
Okay, we'll do the West Coast first. Okay, we'll see what the stones are saying for the West Coast for the coming months. Oh, interesting.
I am digging that grid.
Yes, the garden, yes. The most important stone here actually landed in the west, and that's also water. I used the shamanistic directions of the elements. And water means things that are moving away, being washed away. They come out of the earth, they come up from the earth, and then they move on. That's the progression, is east to west. So what'd you get? And then I'll tell you mine.
I didn't get very good cards.
I don't either. So.
Yeah, I mean, I got, oh, I'm sorry. Give me a second. Well, I got this, I mean, this is a good card. I got the 3. So this is, you know, like a plan. There's like a plan. And I get the empath, which is wonderful. You know, she's really the mother. She's like mommy mother. She's like, you know, I'll kiss you boo-boo mommy. You know, but she could also sometimes live in a sort of illusion. However, the illusion is not going to last long.
Yeah,
Because
what I got,
this is
what
a
I got,
truth that cannot be unseen.
literally, this stone means when pyrite hits in the west in the water, it means grounding changes are setting into long-term patterns, which isn't good if you consider what the
Right.
long-term pattern is. Now in fire, I got that's body, and it's coming out of the past. It's coming out of what they planted there. Uh, People are really beginning to understand it and get it, though. There's a certain really strong level of clarity, and it's matching up with the spirit of the universe over there, and spirit is going to begin to start changing some happenings. But what's emerging, which is the longest way off, is final situations on this are coming, so they're not here. So that means nobody's got a real solution for it. So it's going to struggle on until everybody sees clearly, and they're moving clearly in that direction. But
Right.
what is happening there is coming clearly out of the past, and it's not going to change overnight.
Yeah. No, I get that too.
Okay, I want to see what's going to happen. I'm
I also get this sense of maybe people moving.
yeah.
I'm getting this sense because I get this one also.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, this card is always like, should I stay or should I go? Should I?
Mm-hmm.
It's like he sees the world. To me, this he sees the world like in slow motion.
Mm-hmm.
You know how sometimes, you can almost see an accident happening, and it's as if it's slowed down. It's like, oh my God, here it comes, here it comes, here it comes, and then the two cars crash or whatever it is. Because he's in this point in battle, it's like, what should I really do here? Should I continue fighting, or should I just like get out while the getting's good?
Well,
So, and also this could also be sort of moving. So I
yeah.
think some people are going to like say, you know what, I can't right now. That's what I get. It's not a very, I'm sorry.
It's not happy. Okay, let's see about the East Coast. And do you want to focus in on what kind of winter you're going to have? Since,
Okay.
okay. Oh dear.
Just,
Never
should I
good
get
when
on the
the reader
plane now?
says, oh
Should I
dear.
get on the plane now? Should I start walking?
No, no. Actually, uh, the summer is an indication of what your fall and your winter are going to be like. And the knowledge is, I think people are beginning to predict things to you to say, look at this in the long term. And you've already said you're starting to do that. Yeah, the changes are turning into long-term patterns. That's what this particular stone means. You're, but wherever the spirit is good, and it's in the present. So spiritual changes are happening right now, and in that case, it means I think people are getting geared up for it, to understand it instead of ignoring it. I think it's harder when it whomps you on the side of the head when you weren't expecting it. Yes, signs and clues are there now, but the body itself is moving forward. The body in air is, people are getting much more realistic about it, about what needs to be done to take care of the situation. And
Yeah.
you've got clarity in the throat, so they're going to speak their truth about it and not hide it anymore. And it's going to, ideas, you're going to have a lot, unlike California, which is kind of sitting there, do we go, do we not go, what do we do? What I see in New York is you kind of see the pattern could be a different one than you're used to, and everybody's going to be more or less prepared
Hmm.
to deal with it mentally.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm getting, look,
Mm-hmm.
persevere,
Good.
persevere.
And you've got the slowest
Right.
moving night there, so
It ain't
he's
right, exactly. And it's so funny because people who watch my channel regularly,
mm-hmm.
this card shows up in the first position 3 times a week.
Yeah, I saw it several times and I
It's
thought, how weird is
insane.
that?
It's insane. But you know what? What it shows me is that people who are watching, it's like they're determined, They're building something.
Slow
They're
and
not
steady.
going to, like, nothing can get in my way. I'm very practical. It makes sense. I always think of him as a laundromat owner.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to make a lot of money, but he knows he's going to make $300 a day. He knows it's steady.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So he's just going to keep the laundromat open. And you know what I mean? It's not like, oh, I'm going to put money in stock and I have $1 million. It's like, no, I'm going to open my laundromat.
You know, in Texas, one of the most secure small businesses, and this, I know a woman who's now a millionaire and she's in her 40s. She got an inheritance in college and she used to be a bookkeeper for a company, and she realized that car washes made money.
Right.
So she invested in car washes and she was a millionaire by the time she was 30.
Yeah.
And because in Texas, you got to drive and you don't want to be driving around in a car that's covered
Right.
with dust.
Right. Some of these, oh, look, that's Warren Buffett always put his money into practical.
Things people need.
Right. Right. Food,
Okay,
houses,
we,
clothing.
we have a lady who's going to ask us, and this is going to be a meditative question for Jeffrey and I because I haven't thought about it before. But she's seen and drawn triangles her entire life. Now I know what triangles mean. One is the individual, just the one, and then the two is the two getting together. The triangle is the perfect shape for energy to move, and it's the strongest natural shape. But I would say if you've seen triangles all your life, it's because you're a very strong, stable individual, and that's what draws you in. You probably don't like a lot of chit chat and a lot of crap. If you get in a group, you want the people to work. You don't want to sit around and play games.
Yeah, it's also, a lot of these geometric shapes. So the fire element is a triangle
Right.
upside up because fire does that. It
Mm-hmm.
reaches up. It's almost like us reaching up to heaven. It has
Mm-hmm.
a masculine energy to it, a penetrative. I
Mm-hmm.
want.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go after and get. And then the water element is more of an upside down triangle, which
Right.
receives.
The water has to get past the top,
It
right?
receives, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's more lunar. It's more feminine because it receives and then more
Mm-hmm.
intuitive. Um, so I think it's really about your relationship with spirit. You have more of a. It seems to me, is that whether you know it or not, your relationship to spirit is. It's almost like your. It's more of a core relationship than your relationship here on Earth.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because, the relationship on Earth would be symbolized by a four, by a cube, a square, which is more solid.
Squares are your energy goes from corner to corner, so you have to constantly stop and rethink.
Right.
It doesn't just flow. Where with
Right,
the
it
triangle,
flows.
the energy
Right.
can flow.
Well, even in astrology, a trine flows.
Well, yeah, trines also. If you have too many trines in your chart, you're going to be a boring person. I have a lot of squares. So
I have a lot of
also,
squares.
I wanted to tell you, the woman who asked that question, empathy is in her handle. In
Empathy?
empathy,
There you
that
go.
the one. So yeah, so she already knows.
Yeah.
Do we see any major internal migration to get out of the harm's way for climate?
Well,
I'm going to throw one stone. I have a way I can throw one and done. And I'm going to throw one stone and see where it lands. And I'm going to throw body, which is where people attach themselves
I'm
to.
going to throw one card.
Okay. Yeah, that's probably pretty right, and I'll show you where it landed. It landed between the solar plexus, which is to do and to move, and where their heart tells them to go.
Wow.
The body, that's where it ended.
Wow.
So, and I think I just translated that right. You would think I'd know this, but since I channeled it, guys, I have to look at the cheat sheet too. Physical form is tied to freedom from the heart, but the solar plexus is the power that moves the body forward. So I would say when people realize it's for their absolute own good and it's the only way they can survive, they'll move. I mean, moving's a tough thing. Well, you don't know, Jeffrey, you never moved, but
No, I've been living in my apartment for I'm going to finish my 29th year, I think, this year
I
in
never
my
lived
apartment.
29 years anywhere. I
Well, I've
admire
never
that.
had a job that long, but this is a very steady part of my life,
Mm-hmm.
and it's worked for me. Well, I moved in here okay, so I moved in here basically at my Saturn return, and now I'm having my second one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
What a ride. What fun.
yeah. I get leaving the past behind.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's going to I think if your instincts are telling you people are going to start moving, that's true.
I have to say though, it's like, well, there are certain areas that are really obvious. Like you don't really want to live on the beach,
Mm-hmm.
if you know there are a lot of storms.
Yeah, one of my
But I don't
brothers.
think there's any place that, oh, well, if I move to this and this place in Iowa or this and that place in Kentucky or that and that place in Oregon, I'm going to be safe. It's like, no, we're all going
No,
to be,
Oregon burned up this summer. I was talking. I had a friend
no,
up in
we're
Oregon. It
all going
was
to be affected no
there's
matter
something's
who
going
you
to
are, no
happen.
matter where you are. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, like that Martha and the Vanilla song.
Oh yeah, guys, hit the thumbs up, like, so that
Oh,
everybody
yeah,
will know how to
thumbs up,
find.
yay!
Yay, and share it with your friends who have never seen a person rolling stones and reading rocks and having cards thrown at the same time. It's kind of fun because they really work. I've worked with readers who've had my garden, and it was amazing. We rolled some of the same stones.
So let me ask, so how many stones let's say I were to get a
Ask me a
garden.
question, and I promise I won't tell anything too personal.
No, let's say I wanted to do my own readings and I
Okay.
had that. And
Mm-hmm.
then how many different types of stones, how many stones is like,
I have a thing called one and done where you just toss it and it
right?
you kind of read that and that sort of sets the pattern of the day. I had a woman who came back and she just started an exercise regimen which she'd been blowing off her whole life, and she rolled the pyrite and it ended up and go for it. And she said, "Okay, this time I think my mind's in the right place to accept and stay with that."
And what I'm asking is how many stones do, six, five,
5.
10, five?
And the other way I do is I'll think of a question and I call this a crux reading. Um, I don't want to spy on my friends. Okay, I got a friend who just started a new job, so we're gonna roll. This is a crux. How's it going for her? Okay, it's what she's done in the past, but she's at a new beginning, and it's a very mental job. She works with legal stuff. Okay,
Right.
so now, so it's what's coming out of the past, and it's planting its little roots, and it's gonna grow because it's coming out of Earth. So, okay, show me the pattern for the next 3 months. Cool. She's going to have great clarity. Whenever stones land where they hit 3 spaces, that's a powerful stone. In this case, it's her value. This place is going to meet her future, her present needs, her future needs, exactly what she wants. Her spirit will have the time to work. She's becoming a part-time legal person. So her spirit and her elements are going to have a chance to grow out of this.
Mm-hmm.
And her body knew it was time. She's turning 65 soon. Her body knew it was time in her very inner essence for her to work on her spirit and her third eye.
Mm-hmm.
So she's going to do well in the initial reading because it's what she's done before and how it works. But then she got great stones. Now, can you get crappy stones? Yeah, you can. Or you can get stones that'll if you say I don't want to move but I have to move, then where do you go? Or I usually have a lot of questions about I'm thinking about changing jobs. There's a lot of changing jobs going on right now.
Right.
And I'll see, the job I'll tell you, this is winter. This triangle's winter, this is spring, this is summer, and this is fall.
Oh.
So I can kind of tell time, and I'm actually working on a way to read it as a clock.
Now, what I'm asking is, so like those 5 stones, so you can, let's say I wanted to do that, and then I wanted to add, I don't know, a peridot for money,
Right.
or you can always add stones
You can
to
put
that.
you can put your own stones in here if you want to, as long as and it means what you think it means, because
Right, of course.
these mean what are kind of conventionally known to be meaning, but
Right.
I actually already have a lady working in Dallas who's reading her grid at her garden, and she's going to take my class. But she just replaced 3 of the stones. She just like
Right.
she had these old friends in her drawer and pulled them out.
Right.
You could take one of these and roll it in the garden if you had a feeling for the energy it would bring in.
Right.
But then, like I told you, I have visions of what each of these spaces is like and what
Right.
it means. And the reason I'm giving that to everybody who's, by the way, if you're supposed to be taking my class and you did and you replied and I didn't ask you for your email me because I don't know who's coming to my classes. I'm sorry, oops, I'm a tech nerd. But this, you can do whatever it, once the garden leaves my hands. It's just like once the grids that I build for
I
people, once
understand.
they leave my
I
hands,
understand. I understand.
it is theirs, and
Yeah.
it is theirs to do with as they want.
I get it.
And you can read your own, and it's the only thing I can do ever kind of I can read my own stuff with, because I can't read my own cards. I just
Yeah,
have
me
never,
neither. It's
I
very
can't do that.
difficult. Well, also, it's like, of course, I keep on. It's like, well, I'm just going to keep on throwing until I get the card I want.
Yeah, I know. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna wait till that ace shows up, the one I really want, not the one I got, the first one with the big
Exactly.
blade in it that I
Exactly. It's
didn't
like,
want.
where's the sun? Where's the star? Where's the empress?
But some things like root cellar, the root chakra, I ended up in that vision. I was actually in a root cellar, and I was underground, and I could see the roots of the plants. But when I looked like up over the top, there was no plants up there. It was just all the roots. But it was like, no, the roots have to go into the sacral chakra, into the creativity to bloom and grow. I mean, that's what actually kind of happened in the next vision. And 2 days ago, I was listening to Cash Peters read from this philosopher who'd written about how forests really work. And the way forests really work is the real heavy duty work's done in the roots.
Right.
And the forest is really one, even though that one tree may seem to be different
It's
from
one.
this tree.
Yeah.
It's one
like, yeah,
organized.
It's like a colony. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I was
I
working
think we are too, but we just don't know it.
no, that's what the ultimate end of the thing was,
Right.
Okay. Plan to watch this later and see.
Because the fungi work the same way.
Okay, I thought someone was asking me what her great grandmother's name was, and it's no, someone had the same name. She thought it was cool. Well, okay, everybody's saying where's safe to go. I live in Texas, and I was on the phone with another reader who lives in a part of the country, actually don't even live in this country, where there are no tornadoes. And she could hear the tornado siren behind me on the phone. Well, when you live where I live, our tornadoes you can really see them. I mean, you have plenty of time before they hit you. They blow the sirens off to give you chances. So I was watching on my radar on my phone, and there was no hooks, no deep purple or red areas. They were north of me, close enough that they'd be letting the sirens go. Doesn't mean it was pleasant weather outside, but it just means I wasn't going to go pull a Dorothy. So she was freaking out. If the tornadoes are, you have to get in your bathroom. I said, no, I don't. I grew up with them.
Watch here with that storm. I was like, you're kidding me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, because I was watching it live on YouTube, one of the guys, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, it was, and I'm not afraid of tornadoes. I grew up in the Midwest where I lived down in a river valley, and the tornadoes used to skip over us. We could watch them. We could stand outside. We'd watch them hop. And I tell people that don't grow up where tornadoes are, and they freak out. And we never had earthquakes in Texas till they started fracking near Dallas.
Yeah.
And I was sitting home one Saturday night, and I felt like my chair just went bloop, and I went, what the hell was that? It felt like something hit the building. And it was the fracking had started to cause earthquakes. That, to me, for all y'all who live with those, is a lot creepier. But okay, I'll make sure if you don't hear from me in the next couple days, Magenta, I will be getting back to you because I have a whole workbook. I have definitions for all this stuff. I have a little workbook that when you're taking the class with me, you can follow along and fill things in for yourself. So it's really important that I get a hold of the people that are supposed
And now,
to be.
so let me. So even though it's yours, I'm going to ask you.
Sure.
So you make grids for people. So how does that work?
Okay. And when I make a grid for someone, they have a reading with me, and before I even meet them, I lay out 3 cards. And
Right.
I say, okay, this is the energy I've picked up on you. And
Then if when somebody books a reading with me, I'm already getting info.
okay.
Yeah.
And then I just record on a page. I'll show you. I'm trying to kind of, one you can't really read, but I record what they and I discuss in that reading.
Mhm.
And then I use these cards. They're sacred geometry activation,
Mhm.
and they're all different forms. And like these are 2 I built the other day, and somebody pulled realization, another person pulled change. As you notice in change, there's 5 stones that are out of place. That means change.
Oh, I see.
Okay,
Yeah.
and I analyze the pictures, and these each have a vibration. Like the frequency of change supports our ability to gracefully dance in the forever changing nature of reality, both inward and outward, so that we can appreciate the sweet release of the old and the birth of the new. And I use that as an archetype. I look at the colors. I look at where the person is. I look at kind of where I know what they've got going on with them, and I go to the rock shop if I don't have rocks that match it. I figure the sacred geometry form I want to put it on, and I kind of get a color path if I don't have, and I have huge drawers behind me full of stones.
Mhm.
And if I don't find the stones I need there, I just go to my rock shop, Rock Barrel, here in Dallas, and they help me acquire if I can't find everything I need. Right now, stones are getting rarer and rarer. I built 90 grids in 120 days in the winter and spring, and it's slowed down, but I'm thank God, because I can't get stones. They're all on boats off the coast waiting to get unloaded.
Isn't there a very big, there's a very big mineral show in Arizona, isn't it?
Tucson, the Tucson
Tucson,
show.
right.
I couldn't go to that. I'll tell you why. When I walk in my little rock shops, there's so much energy now between stones and me that I time it, so I'm
Yeah,
going to
no, I
spend
got it. It would be
45
too
minutes
much.
there, and then I have to be out. And I just even look at pictures of the Tucson show, and I'm going, I'll show you what. We have a rock show here. We have a crystal show in Dallas, and this was actually a gift given to me by a nice lady who I built a grid for. And these are really cool. These are geodes.
Yes, I've seen those.
Okay, you can go there, and what she did is she has a whole wall of geodes, and I said, I don't even know how you can sit in that room, but because this one's hot when I put my hand here, you go and you pick the solid geode, and you can roll it around the floor and kind of look at it and everything, and you buy it before he saws it in half, so you don't know whether you're going to get Chaldony, which is a solid thing, or an empty geode. And that's the baby geode she gave me.
They just reopened the Hall of Gems and Minerals at the Museum of Natural History here.
Oh, I've been to that when I was
Well,
in
the
New York.
old one was fantastic, but they just redid it.
Oh, really?
So yeah,
See,
yeah. So
this is my big geode.
wow.
Yeah. She just walked in with 2 of these and said, "Here." Oh, okay.
When I go to Mexico, they have a lot of shops like that. A
Yes.
lot.
Yes, they have beautiful, beautiful gems. In this grid that I showed you earlier, that's a birthday present for somebody. Which way is up? Okay. These tiny little quartz things, those are Veracruz amethyst. And some people call it spirit amethyst, but it's almost pink, but it's amethyst. And it has a very special connective power.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I really, I love the stones, and when I start working with them, that's why when I read cards, I can read cards. When I play with the garden, I can play with the garden because it's stones too. But like yesterday, I got 3 phone calls, and they're people who've been long-term customers, so I took them, and I was in the middle of finishing and packing grids, and by 6 that night, I was totally wiped out because shifting, people understand this, but you do your healing, you do your energy work, you do your art. you get in, at least for me, I get in a different space for each of the
Oh,
things
yeah,
I
yeah,
work
yeah, yeah.
on, and
Yeah.
shifting gears is very
Yeah,
difficult.
no, that's why earlier I was going to, like, I'm drying these, you see,
Mm-hmm.
all those that I'm
Mm-hmm.
working on. And there are a few more that I'm in the middle of, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like, no, no, don't start. You know, your priority today, this is your focus. And then after this, then I can, yeah, because also I have Virgo rising, so it's like I like everything in its place.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to do one thing at a time and do it well and be in
Mm-hmm.
it and not, I can't work like that. Some people
No.
can, but not me.
No, and I think
And it's hard. It's been just accepting that other people work that another way.
mm-hmm.
That in and of itself has been an enormous lesson for me.
Well, I found that the more focused I get and the more spirit I put into everything, the less of a multitasker I can be.
Yeah, me too.
Because to
Me
be
too.
present means to be there and to
Be
do it
present. Yeah.
and to do what you're supposed to be doing.
But you know, some people really do like it's really their nature to do two, three things at a time. And it's like they're kind of best like that. Or some people are best under the gun.
Yeah.
And some people are best doing it really, being done early.
Slow and precise and yeah.
Right. So, we all have our own,
Rhythm.
right, and our own vehicle to get where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get there by pogo stick and I get there by riverboat and we both get there, it doesn't really matter.
That's right. That's the end of the day.
Yeah.
Well, do you have any closing words of wisdom? We can pull one more card before for the lovely people in the
I
audience.
just want to say thank you. This has been a great collaboration. I learned a lot. I think it was great.
Well,
I
I
appreciate
really
you asking me.
well, I'm going to invite people again. We're going to take a 3-week hiatus while I run my crystal garden, while I run the garden classes, and then I'll be back looking for, because if you've seen when I first started my channel, since I don't do politics, I was do nothing but informational things like 9 candles and sacred ceremonies and some
Yeah,
eight
I mean, what's
power stones.
happened is I mean, I never really specialized in politics, but
Mm-hmm.
the political readers have asked me to come on, and
Right.
I have. Um, what I've morphed into is really like, I don't know what I morphed into. It's kind of like this personal one-on-one, how to evolve as a soul,
Right. And that was sort of what I was trying to explain to people in my shows. There's all these different ways to get from here to there, and maybe this is a tool you can use and not that tool. And
Right.
that's what my divination stuff's about. Because people are like, "Well, how'd you come up with the garden? Where does it come from?" Well, it comes from the same sphere that when you pick up a deck and you finally learn to read what it means,
Right.
for you. And the main thrust of the garden though is that. The things I'm channeling in is we got way too dualistic, and we're getting more and more dualistic. I mean, this is like a weird time to show up with this, but when people see issues in the garden, there's no black or white, there's no swords or cups or things that they've gotten, they just react to.
Mhm.
There's not going to be a tower fall in the garden. Well, the
Right,
garden
right,
is
right.
like more all of you, and how do you take your body, your mind, your spirit, your values and your clarity, and how do you integrate them together, and what issues in your life do you need to look at where they
Right.
fall.
Right.
And even restate, which is probably the harshest thing I have on here, what it really means is when I visioned that, the garden was way overgrown, and the way you restated things was you went through and you pulled out the plants that no longer served you, so you could get
Mhm.
enough light in to see light to
Well,
answer
sort
your
of like the
question.
death card.
Yeah,
Right?
that's
Something
really
has to
what the
die
death
so that
card
something
means.
has to
People
live.
don't understand that.
Absolutely. I think the death card is one of the best cards in the deck. And it's
Ah,
funny because,
Barbara got her garden today. Barbara got her garden today. Thank you,
because
Barbara.
all the swords, in the deck, if all the iconography is so negative, and it's like swords just mean thought. That's all it
Mm-hmm.
means. So sometimes that three of the three with
Swords. What to go through the heart.
sometimes that's creative thinking. I mean, sometimes it's heartache. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's like it's creative thinking. That's all.
Well, we're going to pull a card, and it's for everybody who's been watching this. Everything we've read today really fits for everyone. And I'm having a show. It's going up tonight. I taped it yesterday, but tech support went on a dinner date and didn't get it posted till this morning. So it goes up at 7 tonight. And, okay, I got the 5 of coins. And this is kind of a nice 5 of coins. I mean, it's not nearly what you think. But this is really, don't feel like you're on the outside. You're only on the outside when you choose to not make movements to join.
Got something. Want to see something really funny?
You got a 5 of coins.
I got this 6, which I like this part.
Okay, yeah, move on.
So yeah, move forward. But look what I got. We were talking about.
Well, I can't.
You know, it's time to move forward in a creative way toward more abundance,
Right.
more healing.
Right.
Right.
This in my deck.
Nourishing.
This in
is
my
part of
deck is
nourishing.
this is the
It's a
death card
lovely
in my
deck.
deck.
What deck is that?
Eileen Conley's. And when I used to read in a wine bar, death is transformation and the devil is materialism, which if you think about the devil really is a good description of him. Anyway, when you're sitting in a wine bar and someone's had a couple of glasses of wine and then wants their cards read, you don't want to pull death and you don't want to pull the devil. So I love this deck.
Yeah.
You know? Anyway, thank you so much. Everybody's saying
Thank you.
thanks to you. You can't see them.
Thank you.
And I thank
And
you
all
for
the
him.
information for the IIT and my personal readings is pretty much attached to every one of my videos.
Right. And that's
it's
where I
Ripecolor.
snatched his email. In my notes I have that documentary that's on YouTube about sacred geometry, which if you're interested is very enlightening. And then I put the description of that book that I had. I don't know about Jeffrey's book. If he sends it to me, I'll put it on my stuff.
But yeah, I got it. It's not. It's like a little primer.
Oh, okay.
Really.
Okay. Well, that's tough.
Yeah.
Okay. But the thing about sacred geometry, I think you can learn a lot on the screen, but there's also a lot to holding a pyramid and looking
Yeah,
at.
there's a lot to also drawing.
Right, and drawing them and working with them. I don't draw. I'd be here for 100
Yeah,
years.
but with this, I mean, you need a compass and like those things you
Yeah.
can get at a dollar store with like little circles, little triangles.
Yeah, I have all that stuff because I knit. But
Yeah.
anyway, everybody, we enjoyed having you here, and I will not be back on until probably next week. So,
Thank you.
thank you for joining me. This is so much fun.